All right, hello everyone. Welcome. Thank you for coming out. Thank you for sparing your Friday for a webinar. I know that's very hard to do. This month's webinar is on delivering Sitecore like an award-winning production, and it's kind of, we call it a not corporation story because it's kind of how we want to deliver Sitecore, and it can actually be applied to any product really. But this webinar is more targeted toward the Sitecore ecosystem. Let's just jump right in. So introductions, I started with CX, our customer experience professional services, in 2003. I co-founded a business platform company called ANANT Corporation, which some of the team members are on this call. I started with Sitecore in 2011, or 2011. I currently work on 4 different Sitecore customers. We'll get to that in later slides. And I won the Sitecore MVP 2020 award this year. The agenda, try to keep it short and sweet. Try to give you as much good information as I possibly can from my experience, and then get you on your way to your Friday. So we're going to talk really quickly about the experience of work and what the future should be. We're going to talk about the Sitecore sales problem. We're going to talk about defining a studio, which is kind of the solution to that problem. And then we're going to talk about what is the value of doing that. And then we're going to talk about how to challenge your customers or your recruiters or the people you deal with that interact with you with Sitecore, how to challenge them to think differently for the future, basically. So quickly, the experience of work. So how do people want to work? People want to work how they want to work. Really simple, right? Not how you tell them, right? They don't want to work, like deep down, they don't want to work how a recruiter tells them. They don't want to work how a manager tells them. They don't want to work how a client tells them, right? So you can take it from the individual to client sell to just how you want to work as a freelancer, right? You want to work how you want to work, right? You want to choose your own location as a person, as a company. You want to be at the highest market rate you can possibly be, which translation money. You want benefits, right? You want to choose whether you work on site or not, whether your team works on the site or not. You want your preferred title and your preferred position, right? You want to choose if you want to work as an individual or a full-time person for an agency or a full-time person for a company, right? You want to work for a professional services firm like ours, right? Where we don't work directly for a client. We have our own firm, right? You want to work when you want to work, right? So who created this 9-to-5 thing and why do we have to do it, right? As long as the work gets done, why does it matter, right? You want to go on vacation more. I want to go on vacation more, right? And you want to choose where you go on vacation. You want to choose if you travel to that location. And then if you do travel to that location, maybe you can work there. Who knows, right? That is kind of how I and a lot of people at our company, a lot of people I've worked with when I've interviewed them of why they do what they do and why are they working, especially in Sitecore. This is the answers I get, right? Oh, I want to do this, I want to do that. So what is the problem in Sitecore? Very simple. The problem is there are a ton of sales, tons of sales, plenty of sales everywhere. The issue is there's not enough talent. So to basically break this down, how Sitecore is usually sold, right? It's usually sold in a typically all or none approach. So basically, an entity goes for a Sitecore project all or none, right? They want the whole project or nothing, right? Or basically this is done with a partner, or you're directly hired, or you're a contractor, right? These are kind of the basic scenarios, right? partners tend to get the work on the work, because Sitecore doesn't do the work, right? They allow partners to do that. Usually partners go at a all or none, not all, but usually, and from historically, they go at an all or none when there used to be not enough customers, not enough sales in the beginning. Back in 2011, there wasn't enough sales in Sitecore. In 2020, what's the opportunity? Today, I took these stats today, right? So right now, there are 816 open Sitecore jobs in the United States. Now, this is on LinkedIn, so if you take half, let's say half are not real, right? Still 400 jobs, right? So there's 400 open jobs right now in the US, right? Just the US, we're not talking about Canada, we're not talking about Europe, we're not talking about Australia, we're just talking about the United States, right? There are 38 open Sitecore jobs in New York alone, in New York City alone, right? And I didn't go to Connecticut or New Jersey, I just said New York City, and there's 38 open opportunities. There are 48 in Chicago. There are 19 in Philadelphia. These three areas are usually the areas that our firm serves. Our firm is only 9 people. We can't serve 816, 38, 48, and 19. This is the problem. What is the solution? The solution is to define your own studio, right? Now, I will not take credit for this. Raul Singh, who's also on this call, taught me this a couple of years ago when I did not understand. Now, since I face the problem on a daily basis, I know how to define your studio, right? What are studios? Took this straight from Wikipedia, right? A studio is an artist or a worker's workroom. This can be for the purpose of acting, architecture, painting, poetry, sculpture, origami, you get the point, right? The word studio is derived from the Italian, right? To study, right? Filmmaking or film production, usually, is the process of making a film, generally in the sense of films intended for extensive exhibition, right? Basically giving it to a whole bunch of people, right? Filmmaking involves a number of discrete stages, including storyline, the idea, you have to get money, you have to do screenwriting, you have to do casting, you have to do shooting, you have to do sound recording, you have to do pre-production, and then you get to production, right? So the movie industry cannot exist without studios, is the point I'm trying to make on this slide, right? So how are studios used in the real world? Despicable Me, right? It's stupid. It's not like, it's like, why am I showing you this, right? Despicable Me made $1 billion. This is why I'm showing you, right? It's a 90-minute movie, right? Why did they make it? Because Despicable Me 2 made $970 million, right? Despicable Me 2 only cost $70 million. Despicable Me 3 only cost $80 million. But NBC Universal made $1 billion off that, right? So who produced it? NBC Universal. They then went and got Pharrell Williams to the soundtrack. Different studio, right? Then NBC Universal, they don't give it to you. They're like Sitecore. Here's the product. Give it to the box office. Someone else has to sell it, right? Another studio. In the minds of all of us growing up watching movies, this is a normal thing. We think about this all the time. Like, yeah, of course. Who's the studio who worked on it? Who's the studio who's doing Star Wars? Oh, I don't like that studio. We think of it as a normal thing. Why can't that be for Sitecore? Why can't that be for future work, right? So Sitecore, how I define studio types, right? Number one, operations, usually who runs or is responsible at the top level. Doesn't have to be at the top level. This is just a theoretical studio. You can be operations at the side. Everyone can be equal, right? But operations tends to run the project, make sure the project's on time, make sure everyone's getting paid. That's what they do. That's their own studio, right? Usually you have a discovery studio that goes in and discovers what's going on. So we will know how to journey map. We will know somewhat the start of the business requirements, which can be individual studios. Someone can do discovery, or a team can do discovery. Another company or agency can do 4, 5, and 6. It's up to the teams, right? You have design, you have architecture, you have development, you have QA, you have managed services after you deliver the project, right? So many different studios can exist inside of Sitecore, right? In so many different ways. And a studio does not have to be a group of people. It can be one person. I myself, in my own studio, I can do whatever I want. And then I can talk to 3 different studios doing 3 different projects in 3 different ways. So studios versus the all or none approach. Right? So in a studio, you don't have to sell your whole team. You don't have to sell your whole bench, which everyone knows what that is, right? You get a Sitecore project, everybody's got to work on it. Everybody. Yeah, my last Sitecore project had 30 people on it. How can normal affiliates or lower level partners ever have access to a Sitecore customer if that is the requirement, right? You have to always be an all or none, right? With Studio, you don't have to sell your entire bench, right? However, you will get lower money per project. In all or none, you'll get more money per project, but you'll get less of them, right? In a studio, you can share responsibility of the project through different teams. Operations, they just do that. Our company, we love architecture. We love just to do that. Someone else can do development, right? In all or none, the responsibility is all yours. Something goes wrong, it's your fault. There's nobody else to help you. There's no studio to ping on, to back you up and support when they know what you're talking about, but the client has no idea, right? Also, the competition model is a little bit different. You're still competing. Competition does not go away, right? So you compete among studios to improve everyone. And all or none, you end up hiring us anyway. Almost every single Sitecore project that I have worked on, or that we have worked on, it has been in a studio. It has started out as all or none, but it always trickled down into studios. And what's upsetting sometimes is that the client has no idea, but the client should know, and the client should be okay with it, right? But that needs to be taught and educated. That's the only way. Change is hard, right? So the way to do that, we have to challenge our customers. We have to challenge our recruiters. We have to challenge our partners. How do we do that? Be ready for no, right? As soon as you go to a recruiter or a new customer and you say you want to do something differently than the way that is normally done, they're going to say no, right? I mean, I get no all the time, right? I get no all the time from this seller, that seller, we can't do that, or we can't do this. And then 3 weeks later, they do it anyway, right? So be prepared for them to say no. Have your answer for when they say no. Educate the person you are speaking to, or the team you are speaking to, on the Sitecore community, right? The Sitecore community is one of the most powerful communities and the best to sell, right? They are the people who know the best about all the subjects, right? Educate how the Sitecore community operates. Educate how the Sitecore community wants to work, right? Especially when someone suggests something that would be, repulsive to a Sitecore person, right? Or repel a Sitecore person, right? Educate the customer on the global workforce. A lot of people require US authorized, and there is a global workforce not allowed to be used, which is a crime, in my opinion, right? It does not make sense that there are over 800 jobs open, but most of those jobs you must be US authorized to work on. That does not make sense, right? Talent can be screened. There are a million ways. There are tons of teams using India teams, using European teams, using Australian teams. Why can't your customer do that, right? Educate the customer that your studio works with other studios. So translation, don't just sell yourself, right? Sell yourself and other studios with you. And when customers keep hearing this, they will understand, that's where the market's going. That's how I need to deliver a Sitecore package. I can actually get better value by playing off each studio and seeing which each studio does the best and going after them for that, right? Basically, sell a team instead of an individual, which has been very hard for me, right? When I started, I was never a salesman, right? I was basically turned into a salesman. So I would usually sell myself to a recruiter. And now I never sell myself. I sell my team first. And they say, no, this position is just for this. I'm like, nope. You can have me first, and then my people will come later. They'll come later. Trust me, they will, right? So you have to kind of challenge the customers that you impact. You have to challenge the prospects. And don't be afraid if they, get upset or be hesitant or say the word no. Right? Why would I ask you to go on the limb and change yourself? Because of the value of the future, right? So number one, get more customers. I would rather have 25 customers than 5, right? Very simple. It's normal. I'd rather have 25 customers paying less than 5 customers paying more. Very easy. Then I can get referrals from those 25 and go and get 50 or 60 or 100, right? You can have partners sell your studio, right? So your sell is easier. You'll have more customers coming to you instead of you having to go to them, which is one of the most hardest parts in professional services or Sitecore in general, right? You can engage with the community more, right? It almost forces you to have community engagement, right? We know the best people. Who's the best at Azure? Who's the best at Content Hub? Who's the best at X, right? Oh, I know that guy. Oh, I know that MVP, right? Oh, I know this guy. He works on senior projects, not MVP yet, but he's the best guy I know. He comes to all the user group meetings. I know that guy, or I know that girl, right? People get paid what they want, right? When you work in a studio, in a dedicated studio for a dedicated price, it's easier to raise the price. That's what people, that's the great irony, right? Because your studio can say, this is what we do very well for this price that makes everybody happy, right? You compete to be the best studio, but you also bring others up. And when you bring others up, they remember that, right? So if you sell somebody else in a lower studio, they may go for a bigger project and include you. People can work from all over the world. We get rid of this US authorized issue, right? We start to educate customers that the world exists and that a lot of the MVPs are across the world. A lot of the community members are across the world. And it would behoove you to not use them. It just doesn't even make any sense to me, right? I understand the contractual, I understand the concerns, but all of that can be worked out, right? You can have an on-site studio be responsible, things like that, right? You see more transparency. Like I said early, I've been on so many customers when They say, oh, we have all the developers, we have all the CX people, we have all design, we'll do all the architecture, we'll do everything. Just give us the contract. And then they get the contract and they freak out because they can't do all that stuff. And they have to go get people, they have to go hire people. They then want to hire people direct, which right now the trend in Sitecore is that people don't want to do that. People want to work how they want to work. Some people want to work direct. Some people want to work in small studios, right? So, and most people have a job in Sitecore. It's another problem. So how are you going to go hire all these people, right? You get more experience with studios, not less. If you have less clients, you have less experience, right? If you have more clients, you have more experience and more experience through studios, right? And lastly, the client wins, right? At the end, it's for the client, right? It's a lot easier to produce an award-winning $1 billion cartoon, which to me is insane that that cartoon made $1 billion. I still can't get over that. And the second one made 900 million. But you know how many awards they won? 43, right? And so Despicable Me, people worked on that all over the world at all hours of the time. There was no 9 to 5 for Despicable Me, right? They had to get it done, and they had a time limit because the box office studio required it, right? Our approach, how we work, we like corporation to corporation engagements, right? We like corp to corp. That's how we work. We like to be a subject matter expert in architecture and senior development. And I do slightly put senior development because I would like to just do architecture only, right? Because that's what we do best. That is our studio, right? We can work full days, we can work half days at net 30 billing, right? We have US based authorized people, but I and us try to work with anyone. It doesn't matter who you are, right? As long as you're good, you have a good track record, and the client likes you and you deliver, I don't care. That's all I care about. Client's happy, things are delivered, right? We travel to clients on scheduled visits, right? And I put that in quotes, scheduled visits, because we don't work on site. We try not to, right? For some clients, we can avoid it. But of course, now in the pandemic, we are seeing that it is possible that you can do work without being on site, right? And lastly, we work with studios. We are eating our own dog food, right? We have worked with studios since our inception. When we started as a company, we only had myself and Raul. How possibly could we get things done on big time customers, right? We had to focus and find other studios, individuals, other clients. Sometimes we had a client who became a studio with us, right? So we want the same thing for Sitecore. We want to compete to be the best studio in architecture